So I'm doing a little bit of hand quilting. I'm catching up, trying to. I haven't been hand quilting in a long time because I've got quite a bit of arthritis in my thumb here, and I use my thumb a lot in this hand. It doesn't show, but the way I hold the needle, that puts a lot of pressure on this thumb joint, and that's where it really hurts. So anyway, I am working on the filling in points, and they take a long time, as you can imagine. I've got this area done and this area to go, so there's all of these interior spaces will be filled in like that. And this is a matter of, I got myself a knot. Of course, that always happens as soon as I turn the camera on. There we go. I'm using 40 weight cotton thread, and this was not specifically labeled as hand quilting thread. It's just a nice, good quality 40 weight cotton thread. A good brand is Presencia. It's a nice, that one is nice because it's a 3-ply, good quality cotton and real strong, but also very soft and easy to work with. I've used many different brands, but I like I like to use 100% cotton. I've tried with poly blend types, and they don't feel the same. I just have better luck with cotton. A lot of people will use a thread conditioner, slide the thread through either a thread conditioner such as Thread Haven or beeswax, and that helps some people. I don't find that I need it. I do find that every quilt is different, so sometimes I have used it. I think it depends on your cloth, the fabric, or the batting. I've got 100% cotton fabric front and back, and I'm using Hobbs Tuscany wool batting, which is my favorite for hand quilting. This is a size 10 between needle. I'll often use a smaller needle, but I wanted you to actually be able to see it. A number 11 is pretty small and a little harder to hold. I have quite a lot more of this fill to do, but that's the majority of what I have left here on this quilt, and then I'll be able to bind it and call it done. It's essentially a whole cloth quilt, but I have done embroidery and applique on it, and I will, after I'm done with all the quilting, I will add trapunto to make more definition into the leaves and flowers that are in the quilt, and I do that from the back, and I'll show you that at a later video how I do that. But this is a quilt that will be done entirely by hand. I have not used the sewing machine on it at all, and I will do the binding also completely by hand. So I figure once in a while it's nice to do something completely the old way. Lately I've been doing a lot of machine quilting because frankly it's a lot easier on my hands, but I've given them a really good rest for nearly a year now, and I so far am feeling pretty good. I have a couple of these projects that have been in progress forever, and I really want to get them done. I'm anxious to see it finished. So at some point I'm going to figure out a way to get a camera underneath this hoop that I work in. And this is a 22-inch hoop on a stand, and I'm able to rotate it and tilt it in various directions, and that makes it really easy to work with. But what I'd like to do is be able to get a camera underneath so you can see what my underneath hand is doing, and most of that work is done with my index finger. And if you look, it's not all poked up. I don't stab that needle into my finger the way a lot of quilters do. I don't know, can you see where my finger, if you look at the quilt there, you can see my finger traveling around. Well, I put my finger right up underneath the point where the thread comes out, and it goes right behind where I want the needle to go in. Let me turn this a little bit. So fingers there, the needle goes in, and it can go in quite far, and then my underfinger pushes up on that needle, and this hand pushes down. So it's sort of like a little lever, and it pushes up until that bump from the needle goes to where I want that stitch to come out, and then that's how I make a stitch, if that makes any sense. But it'll make more sense if I can figure out how to show you from underneath. But it's just a back and forth kind of thing, and with a hoop like this you can turn it back and forth as I go around and around these openings that I need to fill in. I have had a lot of people tell me that they feel that heavily quilting a quilt makes it feel very stiff, and I do not find that to be the case, particularly with hand quilting. I believe it depends on the materials you're using. A much denser batting might make it feel that way, but this is just very soft, and I attribute that to the soft pre-washed fabric and the very soft wool batting. And this is it's very airy. It doesn't have a lot of fibers per square inch, I guess. It's a loose, airy batting that keeps it very soft. But it's natural, and it's washable. I wash quilts that I've done in with wool batting in the washing machine on the gentle cycle, and I actually dry them in the dryer on the low cycle, and they come out fine. They do not shrink as most people would assume. It's different than wool clothing. The wool batting is, at least the kind that I use, is very good at machine washing. So I get to the middle, and now I need to get to the next place I want to quilt. So I put that needle back in, and well, let me see if we can zoom in a little bit, if I can figure out where I'm at. Okay, there we are. You'll have to forgive me because this camera doesn't always like to cooperate with me. So I put that needle in and between the layers, and I do a little traveling with it. I don't want it to come through the back, but if I can slide it between those layers and get it to come up, and then I'll put it in one more time here to get it where I want to go. And there, now I'm back to a new spot. And I can fill this section in. And this is just a little tiny in-between section between the edges and that little and the leaf motif here. So this will only take a few stitches, and then I'll change thread because I don't like to quilt with the last 2 inches of thread. And so to finish, to cut this thread off, I take the thread and put the needle on top of it, and then I wrap it around 3 times or 4 times and pull it, and then I put my finger on top of that twist and pull it through. And now I don't know if you can see it, but do you see the little knot there on the thread? And then I put this back into the fabric between the layers. So it's between the top and the bottom layer, and it's going through the batting, but then it's coming out again over here. And then I give it a pull, and then I give it just a little tug, and that knot will pull inside the fabric. And sometimes, and what I usually do is I put my fingernail on, or my thumbnail on top of that knot before I give it a pull, so that I don't break the. And I didn't hear it pop, but it's in there. I don't know if you can tell, but that knot is now completely buried inside, and now I can just snip it off. So that's how I get the thread ended. And let's see. Here's my big spool of thread. I got it on a great big cone instead of buying a little spools. I've lost track of the yards of thread that are in this quilt. It's 80 inches square, and it's all quilted this densely, so there's a good bit of thread used in this. Nothing worse than getting to the end and having a quarter of your quilt left to go with no matching thread to finish it. So I always buy more. I guess I'm a thread aficionado anyway. So I've got the needle threaded. Let me zoom out a little bit again. Wrong way. So needle threaded. Grab the end. The end goes on top of the needle, like that. So it's right on top, and I'm trying to look at the camera and my hands at the same time, but grab it like that, and 1, 2, 3, and in this case I'm going to do 4 twists. You can do, usually 3 is enough, but I want a bigger knot just to be sure. And then I grab that twists under my nails there, grab this end, and slide that through the thread, and there is the knot. And that then goes the way I took the other one, the way I put the other one in. I'll put this one, or ended, I'll start this one the same way, and that is it goes into the fabric, and you want to somewhere away from where you want to start, and then the end of the needle will come up where you want the thread to be. So it goes through, there's the knot, and there's where I'm going to start stitching. I'll give that a little tug, and now I'm threaded, and that knot is between the layers and you don't see the knot. So back to stitching. Now, depending on your amount of practice that you've had, this eventually, honestly, becomes very soothing and relaxing. When you're first starting, it is probably not going to feel that way at all, because it's hard to get the rhythm down and to learn the way that it's comfortable for you to do it. It's like any other thing that you learn to do. When you're first doing it and not sure how, it is not sort of a second nature thing. It takes a while to get to the point where you're very comfortable with it. So give it time. But once you get it, it's very relaxing. So I can sit and quilt while I watch television or listen to music, and it's very soothing. At least until my hands start to hurt. And so far, so good. At one point, I was doing up to 16 quilts hand quilted a year. Not as heavily quilted as this one, of course, but I think that probably did not do my hands any favor. So I gave myself a long break from it, and just I'm coming back to it, and it's like riding a bike. I have not forgotten how to do it, and it's just as enjoyable now as it always has been. And I really want to get this quilt finished, because I started it over, oh gosh, it's got to be 2 years ago. I don't remember exactly, but it's been a long time, and I really want it finished. But hand quilting is not for the impatient, so you have to expect that it's going to take longer than a weekend to do a hand quilted quilt. So, but I enjoy the quilting process, both machine and hand quilting. I enjoy the quilting process itself much more than I enjoy the piecing of a quilt. On this one, I did do a lot of applique and, again, this chain stitch embroidery, and I enjoyed that very much. But the quilting has always been my favorite part. I just think the quilting brings the quilt to life. And anyway, that's what I'm up to. And I'm glad to be able to get back to this, because I do enjoy it. And hopefully, before the end of this year, I will have it finished. And I will, in just a second, I'm going to get up and spread the quilt out so that you can see what the whole thing is looking like. So I'll be right back. So this is more of the whole quilt. You can get an idea of what the center looks like, and then this sort of a design in the corners, and that's where all this filling work that I've been doing goes down there. In between the flowers in the center, I did a basic echo quilting, which is quilting around and around in a line around the various designs to fill that space, much like they did in Hawaiian quilts. And so that's what I'm working on. There's my hoop. I'll be back soon, I hope, to show you a little progress. Happy quilting.